Hello and welcome to Data Ki Baat. First of all, I wanted to really congratulate all the teachers, especially in the context of me as a student, a lifelong student. I really wanted to thank each and every one of you, my teachers, my parents, and everybody who have given a lot of good lessons to me that has made me what I am today. So with that, we are going to get into our subject. And what I'm going to do is that I have asked this question before this session planning, and the question was that, do you know about IndEA EA, which is India Enterprise Architecture Framework, right? And the data is very interesting out here. So 29% of the people said that they do not know about it and they want to know more. 12% of people have told that they don't know about it. And then we have a good chunk of people, around 39%, which says that yes, they know it, but they want to know more about it. And obviously, 19% of the people said that they know it. So looking at this important national standard and the percentage of people who know and don't know about it, we felt that it is very important for us to bring this subject. And let me tell you, the subject is at one side, but how about me bringing someone who has done this all? And let me welcome, without any delay, Dr. Pallab Saha to the show, and then we will take you through an exciting journey today. So Dr. Pallab Saha is a creator. You can say that the thought process behind the enterprise architecture for the country, India. So welcome, Dr. Pallab Saha, to this show, and thank you very much for accepting my invitation to join Data Ki Baat. So without any delay, how about starting from the very basic question, which just to start the conversation, Dr. Pallab, that what is the general expectation of the citizen of India when it comes to services, public services and social good, right? Because that is going to probably become a base for what we are doing and why we are doing. So Dr. Pallab.
Hello, Sanjeev. Good evening, and it's my pleasure to be here and addressing all the people who are attending this wonderful webinar and wonderful event that you are hosting on this very important topic, which has gained so much of interest and traction in the past 2 to 3 years, in my view. But to address your specific question. India has been doing e-governance for at least 40 years, if not longer, at least 40 years, in the past 40 years, ever since the computerization started for the banks in the 70s and 80s. I will not get into the details of the computerization, but the expectation from the citizen has always been, can we use information technology to provide better services, number one, in terms of quality of services, and number two is, can we reach out to more people? And in doing so, one of the biggest challenges that we always face, and which has been, I would say, amplified during this past 6 months of pandemic, is how do you address the challenge of digital divide? Because please understand that India is a large, diverse country where there are many people. While they have access to technology, there are millions of people who did not have access to technology, in the past 20, 30, 40 years. So the whole idea was, let's come up with certain e-governance, applications and systems to smoothen out certain processes. So you may have seen, for instance, the most well-cited example of computerization would be the railway reservation, because railways is something which is the lifeline of the nation, and everybody needs to buy a ticket. And you see how things have changed in the past 30 years in terms of how you can purchase a railway ticket and actually makes your journey smoother. So that's the genesis, if you will, in terms of identifying services that are useful to the people of the society, number one. So that's one part of the thing. But a lot of people forget that technology has been used, and it has been used very widely, not just for improving services for citizens, but also services for businesses and enterprises. So let's say if I'm an organization, I'm an individual, and I want to start a new company, I want to apply for a license which requires me environmental clearance, which requires me other clearance from the banks and other financial institutions. That also has been made more efficient with the use of technology. So this, in a nutshell, is what kind of I would say put the trigger into everything that we are talking about today.
Right, right. So that's a great point that you put together, right? So basic driver, if you really ask me as a lay, I mean as a general citizen, law-abiding citizen, right? What I expect from government is that when I interact with them, I feel that I am interacting with a whole as a whole one country and not a various piece of puzzle, right? That's a bare minimum requirement. I don't want to jump around in availing my services and then get the answer that, hey, since this department is not connected to that department, then you got to go to that department, and I'm not going to solve your problem. So that's a basic need. And when we talk about that kind of uniformity or a platform and a single view, it becomes really complex because we are talking about one big country, billions of people, right? So what do you think?
Absolutely.
How was the
Yes.
entire journey in doing that?
So look at it this way, right? Whenever I go and interact with different, I would say, categories of people, they ask me,
Mhm.
why is it all being done? What's in it for me? So here is the answer, right? When you ask that question, right, and if you happen to be a citizen, for you, what you want is from the government, can it improve my quality of life? That's all. There is nothing else required. Ease of living, right? All you said, as you say, if you want to apply for some kind of a government service, let's say you want to pay your property tax, or you even want to take your daughter or son to take admission to a university. Imagine the kind of certificates you carry, and many times
Mhm.
these certificates don't have to be physical certificates. The point is, today now we have the situation where a certificate can be given digitally to a specific institution, and the admission can be centralized, so it makes your life easier. So,
Mhm.
in a nutshell, the answer to this question is, as a citizen, your benefit, is ease of living, so that your services are personalized, your services are paperless, cashless, proactive, so on and so forth. Now, if you're a business or an enterprise, your goal and what we are trying to achieve here is ease of doing business. I'm sure many people who are on this show today have heard
Mhm.
of India improving its ease of doing business ranking over the past 5 years,
Right.
right? And that's exactly what it is. When you say ease of doing business, how easy is it for a person or an entrepreneur to set up the business, to run the business, to get financial support for the business? And if the business goes out of quote unquote business, then how do you decommission the business? So that's ease of doing business. And the third
Mhm.
one is, all of this also improves operations of the government itself more efficient. There is no point of improving citizen services, and let's say services that are available to businesses and enterprises, without the government itself becoming more efficient. So this is ease of governance. So these are the
Mhm.
three things, three benefits and three drivers. One is ease of living for citizens, second is ease
Mhm.
of doing business for businesses and enterprise, and third is ease of better governance for government agencies and public sector utilities. So that is exactly what we are trying to achieve. Not that we have actually reached that goal, but this is the vision that I'm kind of articulating in a very non-technical manner, so that people understand and get the answer to that question, what's in it for me? Depends on who that me is that you're trying to address.
Correct. It depends upon. I mean, it's very
Absolutely.
contextual, as you rightly said, right? So again, we are talking about India enterprise architecture. That's a big thing, right? But
Yes.
somewhere, sometime it might have started with a very small initiative. Somebody may have this vision, and how was that entire background? Because since the data says that people are really not aware and they want to know more, it would be very interesting to know that what was the foundational steps or foundational work that was done that led to this bigger enterprise architecture that we are talking today on this show.
Yeah. So if you see the IndEA framework, it has many different domains or categories. For instance, it talks about application, it talks about data, it talks about technology, security, so on and so forth. So I'll not get into the technical details of it. And I
Mhm.
know that as I said in my first comment, that India has been doing enterprise e-governance for the past 30, 40 years. And in the course of doing that 30, 40 years, certain layers of architecture were already in place, or some efforts have been done, but the problem was they were all being done in a very piecemeal manner. So
Mhm.
therefore, what was happening, because they were being done in a piecemeal manner, and the different government entities were not talking to one another, be it a state to state or ministry to state, even because the conversation and the interaction was very, very low. lot of work was happening, lot of work was getting replicated, so to speak. So
Mhm.
therefore, formally, the journey of enterprise architecture in India started with a project which is currently called E-Pragati. It was originally called Andhra Pradesh State Enterprise Architecture, which obviously tells you which states took the first step, so to speak. So what they wanted to do is that, when I say they, I mean the new state of Andhra Pradesh, is that they realized that all of these efforts, which are really very useful, but they were having in a very fragmented, piecemeal manner, they need to be brought together into a coherent whole. So look at it this way, right? If you want to build a house for your pet dog, you don't call an architect. You can actually do it yourself. It's a DIY kind of job. But if you're
Yeah.
trying to build a 100-story Burj Dubai, you need an architect. So the vector for you to choose whether an architecture is required or not is two things. One is complexity. If you're building something big and something which is very complex, it needs to be architected. There is no other way to deal with it. Now, when you're trying to do a statewide enterprise architecture, even though it's a mid-sized state, it is not as big as, let's say, a Uttar Pradesh or a Maharashtra. Even when you're doing a statewide enterprise architecture, it becomes very, very complex, because the number of services the state provides, the number of existing systems, the amount of disparate data that exists, the legacy systems, plus the split that happened between Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. That's also another issue, right? Certain aspects of the legacy went to Andhra Pradesh, some of it stayed with Telangana. So all those complexities came together for the state to decide, and the chief minister then took the leadership decision, saying that let's go ahead and put everything under an umbrella. And see, that's what the political class will understand. Obviously, that umbrella was called E-Pragati, and that was the genesis of the architecture effort of India.
Mhm.
Ever
Mhm.
since that, it has taken some time for us to, let's assume, convince other states and ministries that this is also required to take it up at the national level. But
Mhm.
something that very important is that I've been doing enterprise architecture. I've been a practicing architect for more than 20 years, and there's a lot of literature available that if a state or a country needs to improve its digital services, quality of its digital services, be it for citizens, be it for businesses and enterprise, or be it within the government service, it needs to be architected. And this has been very well documented by the United Nations. And many countries are doing architecture. So there was a push and traction saying that let's do it at the national level. And that's how the IndEA came about, so to speak. And in designing the IndEA, we have also taken and factored in the learnings from the state of Andhra Pradesh. Because please understand, country of India's size, right? You don't have any example to learn from. Whenever you're doing it for the first time. There are only two countries in this whole globe, on this planet, which have a population of more than 1 billion. So if I study an example from a country which is smaller than a state in India, it is not, the learnings are not transferred directly to India. You have to configure it, tailor it to suit our requirements. Yes, so that has been the journey, so to speak, in summary, of what India has come about as of today.
Mhm. So not many country. I mean, as far as my knowledge goes, and I mean
Hmm.
some reading that I have done, because I was really naturally looking for that. Okay, is India the leader? I mean, maybe that will be debatable. I mean,
Hmm.
whether who started first, but not many country has got the concrete EA in place, right? And I was also reading
Hmm.
one of the research paper where it says that there are 15 country who are either kind of very close to get this done or in the process, but it's not mature, to a level
Yes.
that they want it to be, right? But having said that, I mean, you said that there is an example already, and that become a base for this learning. So, are we saying that we are still a kind of ahead in the whole, building that architecture for the country level, right? Can we say that? I know this
Absolutely. That
question.
is, yes. In my view, we are definitely, see, look at it this way. Are we the leader when, to answer your question, are we the leader in terms of whether we have been the first one to do it, first country to do it at a country level? Maybe not. We are among the leaders, but not the first one. But are we the leader in terms of the size and complexity they are dealing with? Of course, there is no comparison. The second largest country that has done enterprise architecture is the US, which has a population of 320 million. So there is no comparison of scale, right? I mean, you see examples from countries which have a population of 5 million, 10 million. there are countries who have done this. They are so small, their headcount is less than the headcount of a public sector in India of a company. So obviously, so from that perspective, yes, we are leader. And at some level, what is also happening is that see, India has always been a service provider for for information technology. That we export more than 180 billion dollars of technology services to other countries. What architecture and what it actually entails is it's increasing the consumption of technology from a citizen point of view, from a business point of view. Now we use technology to solve our problems. Right? An example of that is very recent. Many people use Arogya Setu to track COVID-19, and this pandemic has actually accelerated the adoption of technology. So in addition to exporting technology to other countries, what architecture has done is we have become a big consumer of information technology. And that to me is a big plus point, because we know that technology can today solve many of the problems which are unique to India, and therefore we need Indian solutions, so to speak. We cannot have solutions coming from other countries and lock, stock, and barrel implement in India, and you assume that they will work. They don't. We know that they don't, because of the nuances that we bring forth into the entire ecosystem. So that's how it is developing. We are in a journey. We have not reached the end, and I don't think we are in a position to reach the end anytime soon. But a great start has been made. The traction is very high. With the announcement on 15th of August of the Digital Health Mission by the Honorable Prime Minister, things have changed. But it also shows that the announcement, I can tell you that the announcement was not out of the blue. It was in the works for at least a year, before it went to that level where the Prime Minister himself can come and say, we are doing something which is going to change the health ecosystem of this country.
So I think couple of examples, right? One that you said e-Pragati and this announcement from Modi ji. So there are good enough example. And if I'm just trying to play a little devil advocate here, right? I talked about this data in the beginning, right? So what need to be done to make sure that people really do start acknowledging this? Because I see the data itself says that there are very less awareness in terms of people really knowing that, right? Dr. Pallab, would you first agree, right? That there need to be done. Lot need to be done.
Absolutely.
Right?
A lot to be done. In fact, we have put together a very, I would say, very formal rollout plan. So all that you're seeing today, when there is an announcement being made, so in addition to health, there are other sectors which are being addressed. The major sectors which affect India are agriculture and education. You must have heard of the new education policy. Exactly.
Correct.
So one of the things that is being looked at is identify the priority sectors and take them up, because we don't have the size, we are too large to take everything all at once. It is just not possible. Now, in terms of awareness, many things have been done. So we have, we have spoken about the health, blueprint health mission. We have spoken about e-Pragati being undertaken by Andhra Pradesh. Other than that, there are many states who are already doing it. Meghalaya is a state which has been taken up as a major pilot. You will hear about that within the next few weeks, what is happening there. There are many other states which are talking about enterprise architecture. They have started in a nutshell. But in terms of awareness, there are many webinars, many seminars that are being hosted in the state capitals, within the ministries. And today we have reached a point where there is some level of awareness within the government ecosystem, if you ask me. So for instance, I'm just giving you an example, and you must have seen this in the comment when you posted. The Indian Institute of Management in Visakhapatnam offers an MBA degree in digital governance and management. And it is the world's first full-time, full-fledged MBA, a 2-year MBA program in digital governance and management. So it is a specialized MBA program where aspects of architecture, where aspects of digital transformation, digital platforms, how a digital leader should look like, and what are the capabilities and competencies required, are all covered. So that's an example of how the awareness is being created. Now, we are a large country. We have competing demands. I know that it takes time, but I can tell you, e-Pragati started in 2014 of August. We are in the September of 2020, exactly 6 years and 1 month. The amount of awareness is increased exponentially in this time. Uh,
Right.
the thing is, there are architects in India. Unfortunately or fortunately, they are only serving their clients outside of this country. We need to do something for this country, and that's why this IndEA is creating that awareness as such, because they know what the subject is. What they are looking for is opportunities to do something within India so that they can create better solutions which are suited to India.
No, Dr. Pallav, you just the
Yes.
word or the sentence that you just said, right? I mean, it is been told in this show for many a times. I mean, I do feel. I mean, so I'm mostly on data side, but I have always felt that we are serving and mostly used to serve, and then not look back at what we have got at the country level and try to do contribute first of all, or create awareness, or at least participate, so that there is a enough awareness around it. So I mean, you one point that I wanted to bring about. So one thing is awareness. I mean, you have people who are aware of that and they start using it, but how do we build that confidence? How do we nudge them to make them believe that it is working? So what I you have heard about is that if you cannot measure, you cannot improve, right? So if there is
Absolutely.
a
Yes.
India enterprise architecture there existing, how do you make sure there is a measurement system in place, like those indicators, like those examples, like you just said, right, which can be communicated very well, so that people start believing in it, right? And then only we can make more
Yes.
people
Yes.
onboard it, right? So are we doing something on those
Yes.
lines, like
Exactly.
creating an indicator measurement?
Oh, absolutely. So if you see the IndEA framework, the most important, in my view, the most important framework, or the most important sub part of that framework, is the performance layer. It tells exactly how the government is performing in terms of its development agenda. When I say development agenda, for instance, what is important for a health department? I'm giving you an example. The health department's importance is: are we reducing our prenatal mortality rate? That is, children who die before they reach the age of 5. That is
Right.
what matters, right? Because that's the quality of living. Or ease of doing business. India measures ease of doing business. Just today, the finance minister released the India ease of doing business ranking among the states, and Andhra Pradesh has topped that ranking again.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so this
great.
is the thing, right? It is getting measured, it is getting noticed. It is just that certain people may not be aware of what is happening, number one. And number two, they may be aware in bits and pieces. They are unable to connect the dots. All of these things are actually related. And I am
Yeah.
talking of ease of doing business, right? We also know that India participates in the global ease of doing business, which is done by World Bank. And India's ranking has been improving in the last 5 years. So you can see the actual outcome that is happening. Now, people may ask me, how is it helping? If ease of doing business is easier in India, it brings in more investments. If it
Yeah.
brings in
Yeah.
more investments, it brings in more jobs. It grows the economy, right? So the
Right.
metrics
Right.
are already in place. The measurement systems is already in place. And the important point here for me, what I'm trying to articulate here, is it is not so much in terms of how efficient the architecture itself is, but what we should be measuring is what is the business outcome or the citizen outcome that it is impacting. And that is exactly what IndEA is trying to bring, that discipline and that structured approach to make this happen.
Perfect, perfect. So the other thing which was running in my mind while you was trying to answer that
Hmm.
question around the measurement, right? It comes down to the trust, right? And there is lot of
Yes.
I think there is a study was done that how much trust people have in their governments, and how much trust they basically show in the government, and how they are making those services, or what kind of a transparency and all of those, right? How this EA, I mean, maybe this question is might
Hmm.
not be suiting, but is there a provision to help build that trust in the government with the help of EA in by any way? Is there anything
Yes.
out there? Let add
Yes,
out.
I will take an example. I cited the National Digital Health Mission, right? Now, when you're dealing with health data, right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
trust is paramount. If trust does not exist, it is not
Mm-hmm.
possible for people to go into a hospital and share their digital health record, personal health record, in a digital format to doctors and other hospitals. So one way that is being tackled within the National Digital Health Mission is to consent framework. What that means is you give consent how your data should be used, who should be using it, and what purposes it's going to be used. That's number one. Once you provide that data, it is protected by the Personal Data Protection Bill and the Non-Personal Data Protection Act that is currently in progress. So you can see all the blocks, so to speak, which includes consent framework, which means I am the owner of the data as a citizen or a business, but I give consent to you, which is a government entity, to use my data in the way I want. Once you give a consent, it does not mean that everything is that, that's the end of the story. The consent can be revoked by the citizen at any time. If you're not happy with how the data is being used, or it is being used for a purpose that you did not agree to, that consent can be revoked by the citizen. And the Supreme Court has already said that. But there are laws to support that. You see the Personal Data Protection, and I'm sure in your previous shows you have spoken about those acts. So these are the three things that is basically, these are the pillars of creating that trust factor with all the information that exists within the government ecosystem.
Yeah. So not only rule, right? I think I'll just add one point right here. So when the competency meet with the value system, then that's when the trust can be created. So
yes,
the competency,
absolutely.
when I say right, the government ability to deliver those services in a transparent manner, that is a value system. But then how efficiently it is being delivered, how easy it is to interact with them, and all of those aspect. I think there was this research report nicely is talking about this competency and then value marriage of these two things that brings that entire trust process, or the trust in the government at the very very high trust that can be built, and that
absolutely.
can probably promote this whole thing, right?
Dr. Yeah, absolutely. And you will see a manifestation of that trust when the announcement was made a few months back by the finance minister, when she said income tax interaction with the IT department will become presenceless. You don't have to show up, because if you're an honest taxpayer, 99% of people are honest taxpayers. We are not all crooks sitting here, right? So you don't have to show, there is no need for a face-to-face interaction except in certain exceptional cases. So that's an element of trust being created, right? So you can see how the value system and the social aspects come in to build that trust over time.
Yeah, correct. And that's something that need to be somehow much more. I mean, the need is to really communicate it much more often from the government, public sector, and then public administration. I would rather say that because somebody has to take that responsibility to really communicate the success stories. And hence people will start believing that, and that's where the data comes into the picture. I know EA, if you really look at the bigger umbrella, data is also bigger component. If you really see, it kind of flows across. If you really see, without that, nothing might just happen. So making that data driven governance is something that has been a key discussion point. Everywhere you will hear that people talking about that, and I'm sure when you design this entire architecture, you must have given some thought to it. So very quickly, if you can just talk about specifically data, because this show is mostly around data and data ki baat. So I thought I'll just ask you this question. Dr. Pallab.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, as you rightly said, data is a very important layer in the IndEA enterprise architecture, and we all know that if data does not exist, there is no digital government. Because if you let's take the example of Andhra Pradesh, right? The fundamental data entities and the data layers that were created was pertaining to people, pertaining to land, pertaining to business, and pertaining to things, your IoT things, right? So these were the 4 data hubs that are being created that can be reused across the entire state. Similarly, in the National Digital Health Mission, data pertaining to hospitals or facilities, pertaining to doctors, other medical professionals, pharmaceuticals, pharmacies, so on and so forth. So if you see the architecture of the health which is currently being implemented, or Meghalaya that I mentioned earlier, or Andhra Pradesh, data is the critical showstopper, if you ask me. And the thing is, a lot of us, we keep talking, and if you see the media, right, a lot of people think that as you would have probably guessed by now, and by seeing all the hype around data science and analytics, people just assume that just by applying statistical techniques, you can, for instance, create insights. But it is not about statistical techniques. Statistics has been around for at least 200 years, right? It has been taught in universities. So that is not the issue. The issue with data science today is that data does not exist in an analyzable form. And that's what architecture brings in. It standardizes data, it makes them interoperable, and it therefore makes them analyzable. Unless the data is in analyzable form, you cannot analyze data to actually derive insights and actually take certain decisions for your decision support. So data is fundamental to everything that we are doing, and it has always been.
I think the more we talk about it, I know, and the more you will feel that we should have a lot of time to really discuss this humongous
Yes.
topic. It's really humongous that we kind of can touch all those eight eight standard or eight component of this EA that you and your team has built, right? I mean, we can definitely
Absolutely.
look for more opportunities where we can go dig deep based upon the interest, but
exactly. Each of those eight layers can be a session by itself, because they are so critical. They are so critical. Absolutely. Yes.
And that is what you're teaching. So today is a Teachers' Day as well, and that is what you're teaching. And I am Visakhapatnam because that is what is required to really go deep into each and every topic. But let me ask you, and I think we are very close and to really 30 minutes already passed, and I didn't even realize it's an interesting topic. What is next, Dr. Palla? What's happening, and how do you see that taking the shape going forward and meeting your vision and objective in terms of success? Let me call it.
Yeah. So I'll keep it very short. As I said, in addition to what has happened in Andhra Pradesh and Meghalaya and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the other major sectors that are currently being touched upon is agriculture and education, and there are a few other sectors that are also being addressed. So that's from a adoption perspective. In terms of rollout, there are many things that are being planned. So for instance, there are capacity building programs that are being planned, and they are being actually done. Only thing is, last 3-4 months, there has been a little bit of disruption because of the pandemic that we are facing. In terms of the MBA program, I've already spoken about it. What we want to achieve is create a cohort, create a group of architects within the country so that they can now start contributing to this. This is equally important because this is nobody's personal initiative. This is a national initiative, and it is an obligation for us to contribute to something like this that is going on for now 2-3 years formally, and now we need to take it forward to the next generation of what is happening. So in a nutshell, that is what is coming next. And you will be seeing many announcements in the next few weeks, few months, in terms of what is being released, and new standards and updates are being talked about. New sectors and new states are being added, and we hope to see that this grows even further.
Awesome, and I will personally look for it, because that's what I've been doing through the Data Ki Baat, looking at the country-specific topics, be it personal data protection, be it non-personal data governance, and now we are talking about India enterprise architecture. In the meantime, we have a question from Manish Kishore, Dr. Pallav. Interoperability of data among the states, sharing and analyzed for the better India must be vision for a DSS across the top of the nation building. Very insightful session. Well, I mean, I know more stress upon how we can use data efficiently. Any thoughts? I mean,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think, probably that's more of a comment, but yes, absolutely, that is important, because states tend to replicate the same thing over and over and over again, for various reasons. I will not get into the reasons, and therefore interoperability of the data between the states and nationally is very important for us to give that one government experience, so to speak, that we have been talking about in this session.
So this one is like, again, I mean, you touched something that I would like to even then talk and ask, right? One view of the government, that's like a keyword, right? One platform, right? How do you make this acceptable to the people who probably are more technical or technology oriented? Because when you look from the technology, you might not like this idea of one platform, because there doesn't exist one platform. You have to have an integration. You have to have a separate disparate systems, and they need to talk to each other. But can you just throw a little light on that? It's my personal question.
Yeah, absolutely. When we use the word one government or one platform, it doesn't mean that it's going to technically have just one system and everybody has to follow and comply to that one system. That does not exist. The approach that we take is a very federated approach, which means that the the control, so to speak, or the autonomy remains at the local level, be it the local government, so let's say at the rural area, it could be panchayat government, be it the municipal government at the city level, state government, and then it comes to the central government. That's always the approach that we have taken. Now, administratively, operationally, India will continue to be the way it is. We are a union of states, right? And we follow certain overall principles, and the states have autonomy to decide on certain aspects. And that's why our duties are divided into central duties and state duties, state subject and central subject. When we talk of one platform, what this means is that the citizen gets the experience of one platform. It is not that it is one platform and everything is put into this one big thing called a platform, and that it becomes the single source of failure, so to speak. So that is not how it is to be taken, right? It is the experience, because to the citizen, if you ask me, to a business or a citizen, it does not matter who provides the service as long as the service is provided. That's the only thing that matters from a citizen perspective, and that's what we are looking at it. So always in India, there's one thing that we have always taken in IndEA, so to speak. We have taken an outside in view, right? Which means you always look at it from the citizen's perspective, always look at it from the business and enterprise perspective as to what is the experience they are getting. Irrespective of how the government is structured internally, that should not matter to me. Why does it matter? As long as as long as I get my service. How many ministries or departments have to collaborate to give me one certificate does not matter me. I applied for the certificate, I got it. End of story. That's how it should be.
One more question in between. Venkatesh has asked this question: any initiative being taken to reform judiciary with digital transformation to make it fact-based and less the much abused discriminatory or discretionary power? It's all about judiciary and how it can overall. Great question.
Yes. So yeah, good question. So there is some talk of taking this as one of the sectors. It is currently being talked about, because please understand, when you do digital transformation, this is not a technical issue. It is something that the line ministry or the line department has to own. So if you see the National Digital Health Mission, it is owned by the National Health Authority, which is the nodal agency, and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The technology part is only at the back end. So same thing here, the Judiciary Department needs to take this up, Ministry of Justice has to take this up, and then it will be definitely, so to answer your question, yes, it is definitely on the cards.
Awesome. Yeah, I think, I was reading a research paper where it was a very specific example on the judiciary, and then help of how the data was helping make sure that judges are able to take the right decision. And again, we can question the authenticity of the AI and ML, because ultimately it is how you train them. But there is a lot of effort around giving and nudging them to really push for the right decisions and fact-based decision rather than the right decision, fact-based.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. That was something. So great question. I think Venkatesh has been in touch with me. As a part of the message, then he had this question. I said, please join, because Dr. Pallav is coming, and then he might probably able to answer this question to you. So thanks, Venkatesh, for asking this question. I think we are basically on time here. It's like around 38 minutes, Dr. Pallav, and I'm sure this is Saturday. There is a lot need to be done. But before we part way and we see how and best we can do to create more awareness. I also know that you are India leader for the group of enterprise architect, right? What are a couple of things that you want to do to make this a topic of discussion? Because unfortunately, and I'm very disheartened to say that it's not that, right? I will not try to put you on the spot, but that's a reality, right?
No, it is true. It is true. The very reason we, established this Association of Enterprise Architects that you're talking of is to, number one, create a community of architects across this country, and the numbers are growing. That is something very encouraging. There is no, absolutely, that's a great thing. And the second is this group will, as I was mentioning earlier, this group will help us, and they're already doing so, in creating awareness about this topic in terms of adoption and consumption of architecture. And one of the things that they are doing, which I would like to highlight, is that they are in the process of helping up other academic institutions to include this into the curriculum at the master's level, be it for MBA students or MTech students. Because remember one thing, all of us have become architects on the job. But today we have reached a level where we need to be formally trained for architecture. I'm glad that is taking place. We already spoke about one MBA program, and that is now, I would say, expanding. The problem, at this point, at this level, if you ask me at a personal level, and because it is Teachers' Day, it is easy to introduce the subject. It is difficult to find good teachers to teach this subject who have practical knowledge. It
Awesome.
is, yeah. So that is something that we are trying to help with the universities and institutes, and that is where the Association of Enterprise Architects that I'm associated with, and I head at this at the India level, talks about at this point.
Great. And the beauty of the Data Ki Baat show and then LinkedIn Live, I must appreciate that the way the longer you go, the better the traction is, and then people are asking questions here. So
Yes.
Satvik KV has put one question that how can, and very good question I would say, how can any individual working in private sector contribute to Indian government digital transformation mission? That's a very good and apt topic, Dr. Pallab. I think
Yes.
you might be interested. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it's related to my previous comment about the AEA, Association of Enterprise Architects. So what my vision is to help the AEA start contributing formally, through this and through all of the things that we spoke about. Because I can tell you, if today 10 ministries and 10 states take up enterprise architecture programs, we don't have enough architects in this country.
Yeah.
We just don't have enough people in this country who have the domain knowledge, because architecture is not just about technical knowledge. Architecture is also knowing the business domain. If you're doing it in the health sector, you better know the health better than the doctors. If you're doing it in the airline sector, you better know it more than the pilots. That's my example, right? So it is a mix of domain knowledge, which is your business domain knowledge, supported by technical knowledge. And therefore, one of the things that we want to do is, through this association, we want to increase that size of those type of architects in this country, so that we can contribute to whatever is happening in the country.
Absolutely. Is this a way giving you an idea of that could be a mindset issue as well? That government, that whole trust piece comes into the picture, that we generally would take in that government that okay, it's okay, and then let's focus on. Can that be also one of the things? Because behavioral is always there, no matter how much technology you talk, but it's all about behavior, attitude, mindset, and everything else. It's my personal question.
I have not faced that. I think today things have changed quite a lot. In the past, I said the whole thing started in 2014, and in the past 6 years, things have changed for the better quite a lot. And I'm seeing a lot of mindset changes at all levels. At the government level, at the private sector level, who are going to support these projects and programs, in terms of providing their services. At the individual consultants level, there is a lot of change that has happened. However, the point here is, we still need to expand the footprint, expand the awareness exponentially. And as I said, this is a journey. We have not reached yet to the critical mass, but I'm sure we will. The way we are moving in the right direction, I'm sure we will.
Perfect. So we would like to conclude with a couple of takeaways, Dr. Pallav. So what is something that you would probably say before we kind of say bye bye to the user and let them enjoy their Saturday? Couple of takeaways, right?
I will definitely say one thing today. If you're a practicing architect in this country, this is the best place to be, because this is the only discipline where you get, a lot of architects ask me, how do I get exposure to the entire end-to-end life cycle? I said that can happen only in India. Yeah. Because this is the only place where you will get the exposure right all the way from strategy to implementation. Because no other country will allow you to do it, because in any other country you're a foreigner. You don't have the clearance to do it. You will only do a small sliver of piece, in the entire life cycle. This is the only place where you can practice being an architect and actually make a career out of it. So this is my takeaway today, if you ask me at this level.
No, that's something that I would call it as a guru, what do you call guru's gyan here, because I am taking it. People ask me that, Sanjeev, what do you get when you do this Data Ki Baat? What is your interest? I said it's learning, because I get to talk to people like you, I learn a lot. My thought process changes. I somehow take away great things. So, if, for example, you just said, right, and I will reiterate that for the user benefit, and we'll say bye bye again. So
Okay.
the whole idea is that if you want a good example or a playground to practice your knowledge, either technical or structural or visionary thought process, and looking at those, seeing in your country, right, because population, because of the complexity, the services, and all of the struggle that we have because of the various things, not talking to each other. It's a great place to come join, whether you are in data, whether you are in your technology, architecture, wherever you can really contribute to the bigger vision, definitely. So Satvik,
Absolutely.
I think the idea is that you just have to jump in and just
Exactly. India, for this, India is the land of opportunities. I'm telling you from my personal experience.
Yep, perfect. So thank you very much, Dr. Pallav. I know we will probably do more, as as
Absolutely.
you are kind of going to announce, and then I will be watch out for all those new announcements and try to see if I can help in my way. No obligation, because I just love this, helping the country in a way that I can. So thank you very much, Dr. Pallav, once again, and thank you everyone
Definitely.
for the question.
My pleasure. My
And the
pleasure.
participation. So thank you very much, everyone, and happy Teachers Day again. Bye bye.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you.